Got another one today. Got a V465D again. This motor is a teledyne era motor that a good buddy of mine got for me. He was going to scrap it, but he knows that I collect these things, and so we come to a deal on it, really good price. And man, this thing's a cream puff, man. I'm telling you, this thing runs great. I got it home, washed it down real quick, and I knew it didn't have a lot of time on it. It was on a concrete saw, and anyway, so just did the regular old thing. You know, I checked the oil, and the oil looked good. It still had the filter looked decent. So I said, you know, I'm going to risk it. Usually I take the oil pan off of them and clean everything out, but this thing looked pretty good. So I just cleaned the points on it. Didn't even clean the carburetor really, just kind of cleaned out through the hole in the bottom of it, kind of blew the stuff out, cleaned it out with some cleaner, and got her tuned in pretty good. And man, she runs like a top, nice and tight. So I'm going to crank it up for you and give you a couple different angles on it. But as you can tell, this thing is teledyne era. This is whenever Teledyne bought out Wisconsin Motors in around 67 or 68, I believe. And then in the 70s, of course, they had to go with the really ugly colors, so they painted all their motors like a puke green. They did that all the way up to the 80s, I believe. So this is probably a late 80s model, if I had to guess. Can't run a serial number anymore because Wisconsin, their website's gone, of course. So we don't have that luxury of running serial numbers like we used to. But still, I'm going to use this motor to do some pretty neat things with. I'll tell you about that here in a second. But let's go and crank it up. Check it out. You like that, don't you? Okay, so let me give you a little explanation what's going on here. So I've got quite a few of these motors, but they're on other projects that are already done, except for this new project that I'm working on. You probably remember about a year ago, I put another V465D on there on YouTube that was silver. Very pretty motor. That's a very late model motor, one that I rebuilt and restored. So I'm making a pretty neat project with that motor, and it's going to have a lot of custom work on it. And a lot of people ask me, well, why do you waste your time with the Wisconsin motor? What's the big deal? Well, I'm 43 years old now, and I started collecting these motors whenever I was 8. And just ridiculous passion from a young age with these things, you know. And, you know, that was back in the 80s, and they were very relevant then. You know, a lot of people still had them. They were still very popular. So it was easy to get them. So I collected a lot of the older ones back then, and it just grew. It blossomed very quickly to the point where I was going to the factory and actually getting to hang out with the big shots at Wisconsin Motors, and they took me under their wing and just gave me a lot of literature, a lot of stuff, and just let me have my way, you know, just walk around, you know, and just really look at stuff. And they really had a lot of respect for what I was doing. So that lasted for years until, you know, around 2010, 12, maybe a little bit later than that. Well, actually all the way to the very end, you know, 2018. But around 2010 or 2012, they actually gave me a motor off the assembly line when I was there visiting. And never would have believed that would have happened, you know, but I mean, that's how deep it was, you know, with what I was doing. So that motor, matter of fact, is this motor right here on this generator. I built this generator about 2 years ago, and this is a V440 fuel injected motor. And I really can't do a good video holding this thing like I am right now, but anyways, of course I repainted it. It was just jet black, and you know, like they do, the newer motors were just black with some stickers on them and stuff like that. But anyway, so I did that motor and made it was just a bench runner. You know, I was proud. It was a trophy. You know, put the nice paint job on it, did all the detail work, and just run him. I just like to crank them and listen to them run. You know, just tune on them and have fun. But through the years, I've learned a lot of tricks on how to make them quieter. You know, and get the ticks out of them. And they make a lot of noise, you know, when they run. They're air cooled, so they're pretty loud, you know, naturally. So now it's a big adventure on how quiet can I get these motors and smooth, you know, to get all the twerks out of them. They're great motors. I mean, they're solid as a rock, but they're crude, you know. They're just an American-made. I guess you'd say not rough. They're smooth, but you know, they're not quiet by any means. They have a lot of rotation noises. So I've been working on that for years now, just different tricks that I do. But people ask me, why do you collect them? And I don't know. It's just one of those weird deals. And I think the only way to explain it is, you know, with this motor, you've got, you know, sheet metal. And so it's kind of like your car, you know, you got your sheet metal, and it's pretty, you know, it's got good angles to it, you know, the way it just flows and everything. It just has its own look, and they're self-contained. You know, you can set them on a bench, and you can just have fun with them. You don't have to have them, you know, in a frame or some special chassis. You know, just hook a couple wires up and hook some fuel up to it and watch it run. You know, it just sits there. So between the sheet metal and they have a soul to them. You know, just every model, the 2 cylinders, the single cylinders. You know, it's just, I call them sexy. They're very sexy looking motors. You know, especially if you take the time to really do the sheet metal work on them nice and smooth and get them nice and tight, and then put some really good paint down on them. You know, really throw it down. They really have just a unique look. You know, they're a lot more pride back in the day, you know, when they did stuff like that. They were just good looking motors. To me, they look good. So anyways, it's just a weird passion I have. Waste a lot of time, a lot of money on them, but they make me happy. You know, it's just one of those deals, and I'm known for it. I've been known for it since I was a kid. And you know, when I was, you know, 14 years old, I had grown men coming to my little shop in the backyard to get their motors rebuilt, you know, sent by the factory, you know, in this area. I'm in Texas, you know, so there was a lot of dealers back then, but even they would send people, you know, my way, and just really cool. But anyways, back to this motor. I built that 65 horse last year, and I really want to do something with it. So I try to build a project for every motor that's really special. And so I'm building a different machine. Usually I build kind of more machines, things like that stump grinder right there. I mean that log splitter, I'm sorry, not stump grinder. But yeah, so this TJD right here, this is one of the other custom ones that I did. This motor took a while to build. Did a lot of internal work on this motor, a lot of machining. As you can see, of course it's sexy. You see the lines on it, but different intake, carburetor. Man, it's just a lot of stuff. That's for another day though, different video. I'll explain that one later, maybe run it a little bit. So, but anyways, but that's for another time. But here's the project that we're going to with the 65 horse. This is gonna be the con rod of what this is gonna be. You recognize this motor if you've watched any of these videos online. This is gonna be the new toy that I'm gonna make right here. And it looks like a rat rod right now, but this is going to be full body, full paint, leather, air conditioning, the whole 9 yards. But this motor is going to be the centerpiece, of course. And it's just in mock-up right now. But as you see, I mean, look how sexy that sheet metal is on that motor. And it kind of flows with the car, you know. So, anyways, but what I'm doing with that motor over there, I'm going to use it to build a new manifold, do some head work on it. I'm going to change the flywheel out, get rid of the big flywheel, probably go with a fan of some kind. But this way I don't have to really tear up this motor, take it apart a bunch of times to test the parts and then put them back in. Now I can take this great running motor over here and just make the parts, get them all hand fabricated, put them on, test them. They don't work, make another one, just keep testing and welding and grinding and do what you do, you know. And then I can test everything on this beautiful puke green motor right here. And then whenever I get done, I'll take the parts that I took off that motor in that truck and put back on this motor, and we'll restore this motor and put it on the bench and save it for the next project, or just watch it run and make a video of it when it's done. So anyways, that's a little bit of what's going on with this. I thought it was time to put something new out and get an idea of what's going on with that silver motor, and this is going to help the project. So see y'all later.